We got many NFL insiders connecting the Minnesota Vikings to Kyler Murray, so we're going to discuss it here coming up. But before we do so, if you guys could hit that subscribe button today, we're going to be going live for 25 plus hours next week. 25 plus hours for free agency. It's going to be producer Dylan and I on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, live for majority of the day. So if you guys want a place to hang out during NFL free agency, hit that subscribe button and also click that notification bell so you guys get notified every single time we post a video. Here we go, Vikings fans. So, Kyler Murray, apparently he badly wants to play for the Minnesota Vikings. Paul Allen said this earlier today. And I think a lot of us would assume that most of these quarterbacks out there would badly want to play for the Minnesota Vikings. They have a really good infrastructure. You have a top 15 offensive mind in Kevin O'Connell, the best wide receiver in the league. There's a lot on paper that would make you want to come to the Minnesota Vikings. Also, Kyler Murray, being a Vikings fan growing up, I see what Paul Allen is getting at, that he would badly want to be a Minnesota Viking, but this was the exact quote. As he said, I was told Kyler Murray, for whatever the reason, really wants to play here. Yes, he wants to badly. And I was told by somebody who 85% would know, which I thought that was a little interesting, and not locally. So do I need to wrap my mind around Kyler Murray? So flat out, if the Vikings want Kyler Murray, they can get Kyler Murray. It's as simple as that. I think Kyler Murray, if he was asked by one of his close buddies, they're hanging out right now, like, hey, Kyler, if you could go sign anywhere out of all the available teams that could need a quarterback, where would you want to go? I'm 99.9% sure that Kyler Murray would say the Minnesota Vikings for a lot of reasons that we were alluding to earlier. So if the Vikings want to go get him, they can get him. And if they don't end up signing Kyler Murray, I would just ride it out with JJ McCarthy next season and sign Joe Flacco as a backup. Because I understand the whole argument of, all right, let's go get a Geno Smith. Maybe let's go get a Kirk Cousins. Those are solid options, but honestly, I think the worst-case scenario for the Vikings next season would be Geno Smith and Kirk Cousins start all 17 games. Because if you bring either of those two in for a quarterback battle and they beat out JJ McCarthy, that probably says a lot about JJ McCarthy. And then also, if those guys start all 17 games, what do you really get out of it? What would you gain from the 2026 NFL season? Because you're not winning a Super Bowl. You're not going to the NFC title game. You are hard capped with Geno Smith or Kirk Cousins. And plus, we already just escaped that era where we had the mediocre top 20-ish quarterback in Kirk Cousins, and we finally got out of it just to get back into it in 2026. I would just disagree with that when instead you could take a chance on two guys with a ton of upside, Kyler Murray and JJ McCarthy. The upside is there. So I would just be very much against going Geno Smith or Kirk Cousins. But Kyler Murray, his former teammate DeAndre Hopkins, he quote-tweeted a tweet where somebody was saying, could you imagine Kyler Murray throwing it to Justin Jefferson? Even D-Hop tweeted out saying K1 and JJ would be scary. And if you guys – I've noticed something with Kyler Murray, and I think it's pretty interesting, where the film nerds and the EPA guys and just all these analytical nerds who cover the NFL, they are all very down on Kyler Murray. But when you talk about former players – and guys who are currently in the league, the way they talk about Kyler Murray is a lot higher than how the other guys talk about them, where people just say he's a complete bust. He's a bad quarterback at this point, which, obviously he is not a fantastic quarterback, but I think he's just a lot better than the EPA numbers and just the raw stats show. So DeAndre Hopkins saying it would be nuts, but also Jonathan Jones saying this about Kyler Murray to the Vikings. He started off here talking about Daniel Jones, saying the Colts locked in Daniel Jones with the transition tag Tuesday. And as I wrote earlier this week, that does not preclude a team like the Vikings to pursue him. But if the Vikings can't clear the cap space, and because the Colts hold the first refusal rights for Jones, the name circulating the strongest around Minnesota is quarterback Kyler Murray. Things ended poorly between Murray and the Cardinals organization, and it was clear around the league that Arizona would have to release him this month. His release will be official next week, and Murray can have his choice of teams since it's assumed he was signed for the vet minimum of $1.3 million. Murray would immediately compete with JJ McCarthy this offseason for starting quarterback rights. And flatly, the Vikings just can't afford Daniel Jones. I don't even know why people are throwing this out there. Peter Schrager was talking about it. Adam Schefter threw it out there that the Vikings would have some interest in Daniel Jones. They just can't afford him. His transition tag's $37 million. Now, obviously, you can offer him a potential 2 for $50, but DJ would just take the transition tag. So the Vikings just can't afford him. Makes no sense. Don't know why people are talking about it. Let's dive into some pros and cons here of Kyler Murray. So the pros, and this is number one, is the superstar talent he has, and also the superstar feel. He has. Because I want everybody to just imagine you're in the Vikings locker room and the difference feeling you have when you see a guy like Kyler Murray walking through the door, who's a Heisman Trophy winner, who has won a lot of games in the NFL, and has that superstar aura where he was a top 10 pick, top 10 pick in the MLB draft, first overall pick in the NFL draft. He has that superstar talent on the field. He's got some elite mobility and playmaking ability. His ability still, I mean, even if you go look at his 2025 highlight reel, he can still scamper out of the pocket. He can make plays off structure. I think that is such a benefit, especially when you have a offensive mind like Kevin O'Connell, who wants to be in structure, obviously, but when his play doesn't work, it's nice to have that extra layer of a guy who can scramble around and make it happen. And also, he could be a potential franchise quarterback. Like, that's why a guy like Kyler Murray is so different to me than Geno Smith and Kirk Cousins. It's because Geno Smith and Kirk Cousins, they're older. Geno's 35, Kirk's 37, turning 38. Kyler Murray's still 28 years old. Now, do I think his shelf life is as long as other quarterbacks just because of his playing style? No, he relies a lot on his athletic ability, but you could still get Kyler being the franchise guy for potentially 5 seasons, so I'd rather take a chance on that. Now, some of the size. He's a short guy. We all know this. We all know the jokes around Kyler Murray. He's 5'10", even if that. And we haven't ever really seen a quarterback of that size go on a deep run in the playoffs. Like Drew Brees is a guy out there, even Russell Wilson, some of these shorter quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, but they're not as small as Kyler. Kyler would be the smallest quarterback ever to go on a deep playoff run if that's what the Vikings end up doing. And he's also got a lengthy injury history like we talked about, missing some serious time for the last 5 seasons. We know the numbers on his downfield passing, and there are questions on his leadership. Now, I think with Kyler Murray, let's just take a look back at just last season. So there are 45 qualified quarterbacks for his PFF ranks here. So his adjusting completion percentage, 78.4. That's 5th in the league. Good there. Yards per attempt, almost near the bottom. Average depth of target, almost near the bottom. Big time throw percentage, almost near the bottom. But his turnover worthy play percentage, very high. What this is telling me, number one, the Cardinals offense last season, very vanilla. They're throwing it a lot behind the line of scrimmage. They're trying to use the quick passing game as a substitution for their lack of a running game. But also, I think Kyler can play game managing. Like, I think people view him as he's going to be the guy that puts a team on his back and he's going to be the one that's making superstar plays. I think he can be a guy who can just get the ball out on quick, run an offense, not turn the ball over, and win a lot of football games. Because the Cardinals, since 2020, they're 33-38 when Kyler Murray plays. When he doesn't play, they're 5-25. This is staggering. This isn't just a one-year outlier. This is since 2020. Like, the Cardinals organization is a joke without Kyler Murray. And I promise you, they're not going to win a lot of football games the next couple of years. Their only chance to win was because of this guy. So he went 33-38 since 2020 with the Cardinals. How many games do you think he would win with the Vikings next season? I would put the over-under at 10.5. I think this Vikings team would be very good with Kyler Murray. I am all in on him. But you guys, let me know your thoughts. Predict it for me. How many games would the Vikings win with Kyler Murray next season? Let me know your thoughts down below. Now we'll dive into more Kyler Murray talk here in just a second. But I got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Factor Meals. Now, if you guys head to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off and use promo code VikingsChat50 off, will hook you guys up with 50% off and free breakfast for a year. Now, cold days are here, and if you guys got some big-time goals but no time to cook, Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs. So eat well without all the planning or cooking. And I love Factor because they got quality, functional ingredients, including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats. No refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, no refined seed oils as well. They also have meals that fit your goals and schedule, healthier eating, calorie management, and more protein. That is Factor. So head to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off. Plug in promo code VikingsChat50 off to get 50% off plus free breakfast for a year. Eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. 1 free breakfast item per box for 1 year while your subscription is active. This link will be in the comments section and description of today's show. So Vikings ESPN beat reporter Kevin Seifert tweeted this out as well, saying Kyler Murray is at or near the top of the Vikings quarterback wish list this offseason. This news brings him one step closer to the open market. And, as he should be, I mean, I would be very curious. So if you put Kyler Murray and Geno Smith next to each other and you just said, if you were trying to win the most games next season, who Kevin O'Connell would go with? Like, would he go with Geno Smith, who fits his scheme more? Or would he go with Kyler Murray, who's got more of that superstar, higher potential feel. If you just remove all the external factors, just like, hey, next season, 2026, who would you want, Kyler or Geno? I'd be curious who KOC has to say. And honestly, at this point, with all the smoke that's around this situation, and maybe I'm getting my hopes up, I would be shocked if the Vikings don't land Kyler Murray. I think if they don't land Kyler Murray, that clearly means that the Vikings didn't want him. Because I think he would sign with the Vikings in a heartbeat. And also, a question that would have to be addressed immediately after the Vikings do sign Kyler, if it ends up happening. Would JJ McCarthy be done in Minnesota if they sign Kyler Murray? It's a thought. Like, I think it's unlikely that JJ plays another snap for the Minnesota Vikings. Like, I'm at this point with everything we're hearing, how this whole offseason's played out, all the reports, all the players talking about JJ McCarthy. It sucks. Like, I feel like the organization almost failed him a little bit, but also he didn't play good football with some of the best weapons in the National Football League. It should give Kevin O'Connell been more quarterback friendly? Yes, but sometimes you just know about guys, and I think the Vikings, when they went back and evaluated and they're looking at everything, I wonder if a little bit of them is just like, hey, we just know he's not the guy, so why would we run him back out there? So I'd be shocked if he takes another snap, and especially if they sign Kyler. I think that's the stamp of like, hey, his time is over here in Minnesota. Now, however, if we get a report where it's like the Vikings prefer Geno Smith over Kyler Murray, I think that is absolutely telling about JJ McCarthy. I think that would probably mean they believe in JJ McCarthy more than a lot of us think. There would be no doubt in my mind on that because Geno Smith is 35. He's a stopgap guy, catch lightning in the bottle max for next season. Like, it would just be a one-year run. JJ sits behind the scenes, and then he gets the reins, or even just Geno gets beat out by McCarthy in training camp. So a lot will tell us about how they feel about JJ, I think, in their decision of Geno Smith or Kyler Murray. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Just hit me with those skulls down below in the comments section. Shout out to all the real ones. And hit that subscribe button on your way out. We'll keep you guys posted with everything around your Minnesota Vikings up until free agency and throughout. So see you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikings.